Hey, what's up, everybody? It's just Charles, and welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and when we give you guys a fresh perspective on things. And now we see them. And today we got a pretty serious episode for you guys that we definitely want you guys to stick around for. But before we get into it, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Now, as y'all know, Ime Udoka is beginning to make headlines again. Why? Because yesterday, the Brooklyn Nets decided that they wanted to part ways with their head coach of about 2 or 3 seasons, if I'm not mistaken, is Steve Nash. So they fired him. Immediately after that news dropped by Adrian Wojnarowski from ESPN, we started hearing that I believe Quinn Snyder, the former head coach of the Utah Jazz, and Ime Udoka were the next candidates to possibly get hired by the Brooklyn Nets. And then we heard that Ime Udoka was the leading candidate to get the job, which sparked a major conversation. Even Malika Andrews came out there and she gave her thought about it, her thoughts on it, and various people gave their positions on it. Right now, what are people forgetting about this Ime Udoka story? What they're forgetting is this: a lot of people are focused on the scandal, and they're not focusing on what the guy actually achieved when he was with the Boston Celtics. Before he took over that team as the head coach, the team had an 18-21 record. They were floundering. They were a below 500 ball club. After he took over the team, they finished the season, if I'm not mistaken, with a 51-31 record, and they became the number 1 ranked defense in the NBA. And you saw their work in the first round against Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving last season, and you saw the work that they did all throughout the playoffs. They put forward a stellar effort, and a lot of people were heaping praise on Ime Udoka for the job that he did. So when the scandal broke and we found out that the Boston Celtics were going to be suspending him indefinitely, it caused a lot of people to really question that decision. And some of those people were the players themselves, a group that has not been focused on enough. So while doing some research this morning, I came across an article from fadeawayworld.net. And the article was centered on some of the comments that Marcus Smart, reigning Defensive Player of the Year, had to make about the situation. So before we go any further, let me just get into this article here. The article starts off with the headline: Marcus Smart shares frustrations over Ime Udoka possibly coaching Nets. The article continues on: the Brooklyn Nets parted ways with Steve Nash on Tuesday after a 2-5 start to the season, and Nash admitted that players don't listen or respond to him as before on the court. This was expected to happen, but what wasn't was the front runner for the job was a controversial figure. Right after the news of Steve Nash leaving the Nets organization was revealed, we learned about a preliminary list of candidates to take over for the Canadian head coach. Ime Udoka was named as the top candidate to take over the job. Even amid his year-long suspension at the Boston Celtics, many people have talked against the move, but the Nets will have the final decision on whether or not they like it or not, or still. The article then continues on to what Marcus Smart had to say. Marcus Smart shares frustrations over Ime Udoka possibly coaching the Nets. Marcus Smart was confused after he heard rumors of his head coach possibly joining another team. The point guard didn't like that at all and had some things to say about how this situation was handled and how Ime can join another team this very season. Obviously, we wish he was here, Smart told the Boston Globe Wednesday. We have no control over that. It definitely sucks. I guess it was deemed that whatever happened was enough for him not to be the coach here, but I guess not enough for him to be a coach anywhere else. Obviously, his name got slandered and slaughtered, and he'll probably never coach again, Smart said. A couple of months later, now he's possibly going to be the coach of one of our biggest rivals. It's tough. It makes no sense, but we can't control that. We have to control what we can, and I love the team here. I love the coaching staff. I love Joe. Joe, he's referring to Joe Mazzulla. He also touched on the front office and how they would react if another player tried to convince them not to allow Ime Udoka to join another team during his 1-year suspension. It really doesn't matter what we say. To the front office, Smart said. We can voice our opinion, but I'm sure it's going to be, yeah, we hear you, and that's it. I'm sure they know how certain people feel, but it's tough because there's only so much they can say. It's a tough spot for everybody. It sucks all around. Now, why did we title this show the way that we did? Just yesterday, Malika Andrews of ESPN went on there, and everybody was talking about this news about Ime Udoka possibly becoming the next head coach for the Brooklyn Nets. And then Malika, for whatever reason, took it upon herself to now make this thing about women. She then said, I believe, if I'm not, I don't, if she said something to the effect of, what about the women of the NBA? And no one understood what that was about. What are you talking about? What women of the NBA specifically are you talking about? And I think, I'm happy that Marcus Smart brought up the point about his name being slandered all throughout the media, because that's exactly what happened. The fact of the matter is, a lot of people were poking their business in something that had nothing to do with them, right? A lot of people all of a sudden acted like as if all of them work for the Boston Celtics. This is the part I'm not understanding. Everybody was siding with the Boston Celtics workplace policy, yet you don't work there. Malika Andrews was getting fired up and all of this stuff. Meanwhile, she works for a company that allows that type of behavior in terms of colleagues dating one another. So I don't understand how you work at a company where they allow that and all of a sudden you're wagging your finger at another company because they have a different policy. Makes no sense to me, number one. Number two, I don't understand why a lot of people kept on poking their nose in that bit. It had nothing to do with it. It has nothing to do with you. It was a situation between two consenting adults. And that is why to this day, I'm absolutely perplexed as to why people feel they need to comment on that. I can understand if he broke a law, that is one thing. And therefore you may have a right to comment on it, right? And have some strong opinions. But in this case, the guy did not break the law. He didn't break the law. And for people to just be running around, throwing his name up in the sky and saying all of these different things, I absolutely didn't understand it. To this day, I don't understand why they never, well, I think the people that were involved, we know their identity, I guess. But for whatever reason, they wanted to keep that hush hush. I don't know why. Because to me, by them doing that, it creates a scenario in which it makes it seem that Ime Udoka was the only party that did something wrong. And that's the point I don't get. If in fact it was consensual, then I still to this day don't understand. Now, some people are going to tell me, oh, you don't understand this, you don't understand that, whatever. Things need to make sense. Things need to make sense. And if you're going to have a position on a particular thing and you can't explain it in a way, in a sensible way, and just tell me, oh, well, that's how the world works. No, you can't even formulate your point. Meanwhile, you want somebody to adhere to what you're saying. Meanwhile, you can't even explain it. So to me, I never understood it. And I'm very happy that Marcus Smart threw that part out there. Secondly, I don't even know what the hell the Boston Celtics were doing anyway. As I told you before, I said if they were going to suspend him for indefinitely, I told you he was not ever going to come back to that job. And now the players within that locker room are asking themselves, what the hell are we doing? What the hell? So he said, so what he did was bad enough for him not to coach here, but it's okay for him to coach elsewhere. Like, that's the part they're not getting. And to me, it just raises a whole bunch of other question marks. So these are my thoughts and opinions on this. What I want to know is, what do you think about some of the comments that Marcus Smart had to say? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section. And we catch you guys on the next show. Peace.